Dumelang re a lo amogela mo pitsong ya gompieno, our press briefing. E leng gore e tla be buisiwa ke tautona ya lekgotla la Botswana Congress Party. Ra itse gore ditiragalo di dintsi mo Botswana. Last week we have been going through a process ya go lela le go tshedisana le ba ba lelang ko Molepolole. And we had invited the media and the nation to the presidential launch. After that, we lost our founding president, Dingake. So we have a number of announcements that we like to make as a political party. Ya ka ke tlhalositse ba bega dikgang le setšhaba sa Botswana ba tla be ba buisiwa ke Comrade President Saleshando. Ke a lo amogela ebile ke dumedisa Batswana botlhe ko gae. So ka lekalo, I'll hand over the microphone to him gore a re bolelele dipego tsa letsatsi. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much. Manana Peku, incoming Member of Parliament for Gaborone Central. Let me welcome you all to today's press conference. I think the Publicity Secretary has, in essence, summed up the key issues we would like to address with you today and furnish you with greater details about the upcoming activities. This past week, we lost our founding president, Michael Kito Dingake. I think we all know who Michael Kito Dingake is, but I think it will suffice for me to sum it up very briefly. A distinguished freedom fighter. And I say distinguished because this is a freedom fighter who did not only worry about his personal freedom, but concerned himself with the freedom of others. This is a freedom fighter who sacrificed his own liberty in the fight for all of us. This is the man who, for us as the BCP, is very important because he formed the BCP together with other colleagues in 1998. And in forming the BCP, he made fundamental statements that remain true today. You'll recall, it's well recorded, newspaper articles from 1998, books that he has written, one of them, Politics of Confusion. It stands out clearly that it was a statement in favor of good governance, a trait we hold dearly more than 2 years. It was a statement about integrity in politics, a value we hold dearly more than 2 decades later. It was a statement about standing up for the truth, even when it was unfashionable to do so. So this is a man who had options. Like many others chose in South Africa, he could have chosen to remain silent and stay out of trouble. After all, he knew he was going to return to Botswana, where he would be accorded the rights that they were fighting for in South Africa. And coming back at the time with an education, he knew he would be set for a comfortable life. But he chose not to sit by and watch as injustice reigns. This is a man who, in 1998, could have kept quiet and stayed put in the organization that he was in and hope that in a year's time, he will ascend to become the vice president of the country if that formation had won. There's a word for it here that has been popularized by others who make the easier choices. But he chose to stand up for what he believed was the right thing to do. We have no doubt that Comrade Mike sleeps with a good conscience. He sleeps with a clean conscience. He leaves behind an enviable record of principled politics. And that is why, as the BCP, though we are mourning, we are essentially also celebrating. We are celebrating a life that we are proud to associate with. Prayer meetings are ongoing at the homestead, and burial will be on Sunday, the 14th of April. On Saturday, the 13th of April, we will be holding a memorial service for Comrade Mike Dingake at the Notwane playgrounds near the National Stadium, starting at 10, and it's expected to run until 12 in the morning, or rather 12 noon on the same day. I believe all of you would have seen the statement released by the family. The family stated very clearly that they have no doubt in their minds that if Comrade Mike Dingake could speak, he would insist that the Saturday events should proceed as planned and that nothing should be postponed on account of his demise. As a party, we have decided to uphold the wish of the family in that regard. For we also know that Comrade Mike Dingake was most likely going to make that particular call if he had the ability to do so. I also now want to talk briefly about the Saturday afternoon event. Saturday afternoon, we'll be having a presidential launch still at the Notwane grounds. One may ask, why a presidential launch? Ordinarily, we only have launch of parliamentary candidates. I think there are a few points I want to make in this regard. Botswana care about who becomes president. During the recent review of the Constitution, a number of submissions were made across the country calling for direct election of the president. A clear expression by the nation that they have a strong desire to play a part in choosing who becomes their president. We all know that government has released a white paper responding to the Commission on the Review of the Constitution. And in that white paper, they've clearly stated that they will not accede to calls for a direct election of the president. They've gone a step further and published a government gazette amending or containing amendments that are to be effected to the Constitution. And there is no indication of any amendment dealing with the direct election of the president. Now, we believe that 2024 must be a year in which the country gets to choose its president. In 2019, we got a president that was chosen by outgoing President Rekham. And the person who chose the current president says they regret it. Before Ramasisi, we got a president called Rekham, chosen by Remugai, who says he's choosing Rekham. 2024 is about doing away with regrets. It's about choosing the president we want, with or without direct election of the president. Our message to Botswana is simple. You can elect the president you want in 2024 by choosing the candidates that associate with the presidential candidate you desire. The president is on the ballot in 2024. It's on the ballot because the president's vote is intertwined with the vote for the member of parliament. So I'll be calling on Botswana to reflect about who they want to be president. And in voting for the MP, they must know that it's actually a double vote. It's not only about the MP, it's about who you want to be president, so that we don't have anyone telling us that they have regrets about the choice that was imposed on us. So 2024 is a year of choice. Who should be president of the Republic of Botswana? It's even more critical because more than in any other election, the country faces a number of challenges, more serious than the one. We all know that we are now talking of a collapsed education system. And this is about the future of the country. Do we want to have graduates of a collapsed education system running the country in the future? We all know that we are talking of a collapsed health sector, public health sector system. Can we afford the risk of continuing with a collapsed health sector? It's also an election year in which corruption reigns supreme. The last budget speech did indicate that corruption has been on the increase in Botswana. It's also a year in which we are facing high and rising levels of unemployment. Unemployment in different forms. Unemployment, even underemployment, where graduates are forced to take up menial jobs. Menial jobs in restaurants with a degree, because there's no other option. High unemployment also of people who we call discouraged job seekers, not captured in the unemployment statistics because it's assumed they have not looked for a job in the recent past. Unemployment also in the form of people who have taken up positions such as those of interns in government, who are possibly the best educated generation this country has ever had since independence. So it's about a president who can truly reverse the tide and save Botswana. I wouldn't mind if the BDP was to make an argument that they need to tell us whether they're best placed to save Botswana. Because if they don't think that there's a need to save Botswana, then they shouldn't be contesting elections. It means they don't understand the country in which they live. So the Saturday presidential launch will basically be to answer one critical question. As a candidate for the BCP, am I the right person for the job? That will be the table on Saturday. And that is and to the that I am the right person. Well, not only because I qualify in terms of the Constitution, which is what a copy of what I have here, but also because of my track record, which I will spell out on Saturday, that I am ready to save Botswana with the BCP, which is the second part of the question that we would want to answer. But I assume the answer is in the open, out in the open. That the BCP is ready for this assignment. It's ready for this assignment. We are the only party that has serious headway elections. We are the only that has completed a candidate selection process. We are the only party that has initiated the process of coming up with our manifesto for the 2024 elections. We've launched different chapters. Botswana know precisely what to expect from the Botswana Congress Party. I believe I'm get the 31 seats needed to form a government. A lot of the time, people ask me, don't you team up with the others? We are convinced that 31 is within reach. We continue to, and there is immense goodwill for the Botswana Congress Party. I believe the ground is fertile. Botswana can see for themselves who amongst the competing parties is indeed taking the assignment seriously. Those that don't take election preparation seriously will never take formation of a government seriously. The laissez-faire attitude that we see amongst our competitors is an indication of what would happen if they were to be entrusted with government. It's going to be a slow joyride for them with no sense of agency. BCP is in a fast mode of getting ready for these coming elections. And like I said earlier, I remain convinced that we have what it takes to get the 31 seats required to form a government. We are not bothered by the fact that others will decampaign us for choosing to go with the ones you went with. When I get motho ga eletsega o ka ntse o mo supe a sa siama gore ke eng a sa teka ga go nna. Kana that shows a desire. Gore tota o mata ka ga wena. But for this election, we have decided we will go with the Botswana Labour Party. A new formation, yes. No electoral track record, yes. But men and women who have integrity. Men and women who are not intimidated by standing up for what they consider to be the truth, even if they are in a minority. So, Saturday afternoon, I am hopeful. We are hopeful. We hope that Botswana will hear our message loud and clear. That the BCP has a president, the BCP has parliamentary candidates, the BCP has a manifesto that will save Botswana. That will be the key message that we hope Botswana will fully appreciate, and we will continue then with our campaign to the 2024 general elections. I thought that I should highlight those two issues really. The passing of Dingake, plans for his memorial, burial plans, the Saturday launch, and why we are proceeding. Others were asking, are we going to postpone as we did with the passing of the 45 people in Molepolole? But remember, the 45 people in Molepolole, we did indicate in a statement that we're only postponing for that one weekend, and we postponed for only areas in the southern part of Botswana. In the northern part, we're allowed to continue. In the case of Dingake, the family has been very clear, and we decided to respect their desire about activities for this coming weekend. I thank you.
Now I'll take questions from the floor. Okay. Okay, Ramatiti.
Yes, my question is in relation to Dingake. What can he just start like on the South Africa? Botswana Congress Party le bereka hand in hand le ba lwapa. A gona le dithulaganyo di petse le di itseng gore gongwe bape ba berekile le bone ko South Africa e le mapolitiki kana e le bomamang ba le ba soletseng gore ba tebe ba tata merapelong kana ba tata go moloka.
Botswana Guardian newspaper. Comrade Press, dipotso tse pedi. O bua gore 31 seats is within reach. Gongwe motho ka batla the exact number. Kana 31 re bua ka go form a government. Maybe we could get to the exact number. E leng gore ke selo se leng gore BCP tsepame e le target ya yone gore e batla go e fitlhela. The second question ke the amendment e leng gore o bua ka yone e leng gore ga ba e dira ya direct election of the president. In your own observation, what will you say is the reason why Batshaba gore go nne le direct election of the president? Kana gore ba nne le contention ya gore no, we can't amend that particular part gore go nne le direct election of the president. Thank you.
Dumelang, thank you very much. Ke Potlako from the Medic Sun. I have two questions. One, it's in relation to my colleague Ranika Ibuaka, direct election of the president. BCP, you are an opposition party. Let's say for argument's sake, la vote you are in as the next president under Skimiso as a direct election. How will the government run if, say, another party has majority of the seats? Melona go gain the presidency seat. Le bona ile gore le ka rana le hatseyang with your opposing parties. And then also ka kganya voter registration. Are you satisfied with the numbers that have come forward? Lele party leading in your own capacity to encourage firstly your members and secondly Botswana at large to register.
Tumelo ko Gaps FM. Comrade Press, do you have any views pertaining to the delays associated with the release of voters' roll for the general registration exercise?
Okay. I think we have enough questions for you, Press.
Okay, who is coming from South Africa? True. Dingake, I think it was former President Mbeki in a clip that said he was as South African as any other. I would venture it even much broader and say he ranks very well as a Pan-Africanist. And then like I said, we are proud to be associated, had an association with a person of that stature. It's not only him, by the way, in the history of Botswana politics. Remotsa Maimpo, who was also the leader of Botswana Alliance Movement and Botswana Congress Party, ranks very highly in that regard. So I think we are expecting those that he worked with during the liberation of South Africa to be present over the weekend in Botswana. Unfortunately, I do not have the precise names, but I do know that the ANC Veterans League has confirmed that it will be represented at both the memorial and the burial. In fact, there will be a speaker at the memorial from the ANC side of things. 31 within reach, and how many others? I think the critical thing about our strategy is that we are aiming to be in government post-October. Whether we get a good majority or not, it's irrelevant. We would love a big majority, yes, but the critical thing, the most critical thing about Botswana elections in October is that we want to deliver change. That is why we started in good time. We believe we can get the 31. But of course, this is not to say we are aiming only for 31. We are presently sitting at 55 confirmed candidates the last time I checked. We are expecting others to get on board before we go for our national conference. But those who have been confirmed, we have fully complied with the regulations, stand at 55. We will win not less than 31. That's what we are going out for. Why is it that the BDP possibly fears direct election of the president? those of you who've observed the BDP over some time, the BDP normally adopts a position that suits its leader. I know for a fact, for many years, at least when I represented Gaborone Central, they would have nothing to do with the president appearing in parliament and being asked questions, because their leader at the time did not want any of that. Whether he adds value or not, but they think it's a good thing and they boast about it. This time around, my suspicion is that it's because they are convinced that their presidential candidate will not have what it takes to win a direct contest. Otherwise, why would he not? Why would he not agree to it? You've also got to balance, the reason Botswana called for this, it makes sense. You've got to balance the office of the president, the election of the president, with the duties and responsibilities that come with the office. The Constitution is clear. Executive power rests with the president. It doesn't matter how many ministers you have around you, how smart they are. If the president is clearly on a destructive route, the nation perishes with the president. That's the reality. The Constitution also says, protects the president more than any other citizen. There's nothing you can do. So it's a very high responsibility, which should not be taken any lighter than the vote of an MP or a councillor. But no one is able to give you the scores for the president. I've used the expression before that I once heard from Reran Tawar. Mo Botswana tauto show me wajaka mul. The president has a sepe. Important thing mo councillor, the important thing mo parliament. Without a single vote being cast. Apologies, I'm not sure if I really understood the question of how will we govern the country if we get 31. If we get 31, we run with the BCP manifesto, the pledges we've made. We will review the Constitution. We are clear about that the recent constitutional review, in our view, was a sham. The process it followed, terms of reference determined by one person, commissioners determined by one person. We need an inclusive process of reviewing our Constitution. And that has to be preceded by a national campaign to educate people about the Constitution. Otherwise, the sort of comments you were getting during the presidential review showed that people lacked basic elementary knowledge about what the Constitution really is. So we definitely are gunning for 31, and if we win, it's the BCP manifesto implementation. I know others have asked the question to say, what if you don't get 31? Our eyes are focused on 31, and we are not at this stage going to waste time discussing failure. We will definitely be focused, very, very laser focused on the 31 seats that we need. Voter registration, we've played our part. One of the key things, I think the secretary to the IEC released a statement, during the first cycle of registration, stating that people are not registering because they are complaining that they don't know who the candidates are. BCP has done its part. People knew who the candidates from the BCP are. So it's those that failed to come to the party, the other parties that failed to come to the party, that should really be asked for what have they done to promote democracy in Botswana? They've done a disservice to our democracy. We've played our part. And we are heading to the last, possibly the last cycle of registration. And we are still the only player on the field, as it is. And the voters hopefully realize this. On the late release of the voters' roll, SG, are you able to assist? I know there's a communication that came through, and I think SG will be better placed to speak to that communication.
Thank you, Comrade President. Yes, we have received communication from IEC to the effect that the voters' roll, the first registration, which took place between January and 5th February, will be late in being released. No reasons, convincing reasons are being given. We are told it's a tedious exercise. But this is IEC. It has been running elections for a very long time, very experienced. Earlier, they had released the information and promises to the effect that the voters' roll will be ready by 11th March. And come around the third week, 18th, 20th, they're releasing a contrary information that this is a very tedious exercise. Typical of what they did when they postponed the registration that was supposed to have taken place in October last year to November before the court case, the famous court case. So we are expecting the voters' roll. Even today, as we are sitting here, we are yet to see the voters' roll, which has been promised to be released on the 9th. I don't know if any of you as journalists have seen it. So it's just going around the circles by IEC. IEC is not doing a good job. One wonders why. Is it deliberate? Is it waiting for BDP to put its house in order before everyone can move forward? But the thing is, us as BCP, we have intentionally moved forward because first and foremost, we are organized. Secondly, we believe we are transparent, and we believe in the democratic principles of transparency, of membership-centered governance within which our electioneering process is centered. So we are ready as BCP. IEC might be playing its games, but we urge Botswana to go all out and save Botswana. But maybe to buttress also on the issue who will be coming for Comrade MK's funeral. You know, we have a challenge in this country in the sense that we don't classify funerals. You look at a funeral MK, a historic struggle icon with very historic credentials. If it was in South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Zambia, we'll be talking state funeral, for such an icon. But this is Botswana. It's reserved for the presidency only. Of course, the South African president would have loved to come, but we know the diplomatic conflicts between us and South Africa. We are not sure, even though Thabo Mbeki wants to come, whether he will come, because it's not a state funeral, because the state is not playing any role. But in a funeral of an icon like MK, if it was in other countries, we'll be talking something else. So there is need for change in this country. There is real need to save Botswana. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade FG. Ke dumela gore ba arabile those questions sufficiently. Okay, you are good. So I'll take, I believe, the last round of questions So anyone with a burning question?
Kibidwa Nkan from Miri. Re Saleshando, ke utlwa hore the ground is fertile. Wa o lebileng se. O na le two main opponents. Go tlhotsa efe?
The ground is fertile, go tlhotsa opponent efe?
Me ke ipoeletse gape. Botswana Saleshando. E kana go haleme ko northwest kana ko Mount North mene le ko Mount West. Me go supala gore yo presidential launch e tebele mo Gaborone Central. A go ntsha mabaka. Gongwe bedi be nna gore maloba ka la bone ha le ko molepolole. A ke go pola sente party ke tene e tlhalositse gore mekoleko yotlhe e tla dirwa mo letsatsing leo e tla donatelwa malapa a tlhokagaletsweng. A re itse gore ka letsatsi leo le dirile bokae mo e leng gore le ka bolelela Batswana. Ya bohelo e be nna gona gore le Congress Party gantsi le ete nne kete le critical mo mananeong a puso. Mme re bona gona le lenaneo le mo fashioneng go te chama gore lona la reng ka lenaneo le. Thank you.
Thank you, Rera Matiti. Hi, Comrade Tiro.
Ne ke batla ga issue ya political party funding gore kana re itse gore e dule e ntshitswe ipe re bona le gore o thusitse ne go te during the ballot ka 2019 ke tsone tla beng di benefit gore SBCP what attempts have you tried to make gore le lona le benefit although le se mo balloteng ka 2019 or we have moved on le le makganya ya political party funding or what's the latest with that issue ya political party on regards to your side? Thanks.
I think we've taken enough questions. Let me hand over to the president.
Thank you. The ground is fertile, yes. That's what I've been saying. The BCP has been crisscrossing the country. This past Saturday, we were in 30 East, a constituency that has been in the hands of the BDP since 1966. I have very clear views about what is going to happen in 30 East. 30 East is going to have its first member of parliament who will not be BDP. Sunday, we went to Shashe West, another constituency that has been in the hands of the BDP since independence. The reception that we received there shows clearly that people are ready to have a BCP MP in the constituency. We've also been to Katling West, as you know, when we launched Honorable Unity Down. It's evident. It's evident that that is the leading horse in the race, if not the only horse. Pikwe East, our incumbent area MP, is clearly cruising to victory. I've seen in social media, we get those resources. Where will we get those resources? And no one can even show you a bus BCP. These are my busi hell. Kana dumela gore pega batho bo nnale. You've got to believe in magic if you think that these are rented crowds. The whole of Monday morning, we did a walkabout in Francistown at the bus rank. Again, it's as if it's one-way traffic. We want change. People are clear in their minds that they want change. And you see, I guess the timing of it is also good because a lot of the time, every other election, there's a new president from the ruling party, but That is what people have been made to believe. But I think Ramasisi has demonstrated more than anyone else that it's the same old BDP. What election was that? But today it's been done even in a much more reckless manner. When people are having difficulty even believing what is it true. Now I was asking people go Francis Town, young we take. But please, what's a more and people were surprised. Wow, we see. So I think people can see through this president who tried to portray himself as different from BDP. It's the same old BDP that Botswana do not trust anymore. So now I remain convinced story. Not what I want to link with a total. I remember one journalist, yes, Chenjera, Francis Taunam, why are we investing so much in this campaign? Is it because Ketaba became in Libon? In deep snoring, those who are saying they will be contesting with us are in deep sleep. So now that's why they can't even hold the primary elections. They know what is going to happen. Weak as they are, they are going to implode the moment they try to get a taste of internal democracy. And that is why their leaders of our opponents' parties, all of their leaders, their demeanor, their posture, it's anti-primary elections. You can see that. They are arguing more against democracy. It's very, 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 very clear. Why launching Gaborone? Gaborone is the seat of state power. That's a simple reason. It's the seat of state power. I am not looking for Butere Manijwa Juangami, Kanajwa Maung this council. I am launching a march to the State House. And I think it's appropriate that I launch it in a constituency that hosts the State House. I launch it in a constituency that hosts the office of the president. I launch it in a constituency that hosts the National Assembly. Again, I know I've seen comments by Mobare, Gaborone Central. I've moved on and I am sure Gaborone Central will be in good hands October 2024 when Mpoma Nana Peku is announced as the candidate for, as the member of parliament for the area. So there's no nostalgia. I've moved to Maung where I've been well received, but I am launching this campaign because I will not be a president for Maung, I'll be a president for Botswana, and I want it to be launched at the seat of government, capital city, Gaborone. Donations, the treasurer is here, but my expectation really has been that when we receive the monthly statement, we'll be able to hopefully pick on that particular day how much. We will be transparent about it. There's an independent service provider who provides the statements. So we will provide the statement and we will remit the full amount that we promised. On political party funding, and I think it's the last one, let's not remember the rationale for political party funding. The rationale is to level the playing field. That is the most important thing, to level the playing field. Now, when you say you only want those that had the might, the muscle in one election, to the exclusion of other players, legitimate players, who may not have commanded the financial muscle votes that the others did. If that is the starting point, you've lost the plot. That means it's not about leveling the playing field. It's about ensuring domination of the already dominant. So Lerona as BCP, we know our electoral muscle. We wouldn't argue for a law that disadvantages those who are weaker than us in the political arena. We want to level the playing field. That's number one. Number two, it's also about allowing the political parties the resources to better manage themselves. It cannot be true that the only ones who deserve to better manage themselves are the ones in parliament. Kana, you could have a party that has no interest. You could have a party that has no interest in a parliamentary seat. You could have that. You can have Mekoku tomorrow all over the country. But we ne Kodi Council. You can't ignore that. In some parliaments, Mekoku are bigger than some parties. There was a time in Malawi, not in the distant past, when Mekoku, independent candidates, were bigger or larger in number than some of the registered political formations. So our understanding and what has been communicated is that there will be a law brought before Parliament on political party funding. We will make our case on why that law should be crafted in a manner that will deliver fairness in our contest. Why the law must not seek to entrench the domination of those who are already represented in the National Assembly. But hey, it's a question of numbers again. But Runagana, we always make our point. We always make our point. Le haele gore bontsi bo ka tswa bo tsa gore e ka re ka favoru akimo a re dire in a way that favors us. We will make our point. But you know, I don't have sleepless nights over this thing. Yeah, political party funding. And the reason I don't is because who win at the top, Madi is one of a number of components. It's and I always give the illustration like how not if I have 3-4 teaspoons of sugar, only 1 teaspoon. But you see, the financial muscle and I put 10, 15 teaspoons. So Madina splash Leone can be a source for your own loss in an election. We have survived before as the BCP through our tight budgets. There are many Botswana out there who also come out and say, and I'll give you an example. This morning we were dispatching a vehicle. Mongoli di tsantare ke utwa go togona le tiroko. Ke kopa go ntsha o lo thusa ke ntshe seshabo. So a vehicle will be driving into Gaborone later today. Ka dikgomo tse pedi. And I'm sure others will come through. Ba ba re nyana ke na dikgomo. Tsa mbunyene bo ke nang le bone kibo. And they will see us through. But in I hope I have answered all the questions.
Before we conclude,
Yeah.
you have pocketed 81 constituencies. Are you in a position to unveil?
Bami, the voice.
Bami? Yeah. Are you in a position to unveil a full cabinet since it's still showing 81 constituencies?
I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The most critical thing that the BCP has demonstrated is that it has depth. I mean, look at the manifesto launches. I was the leading presenter on the economy. We had different presenters when it came to the chapter on land and housing. Basupa boteng jwa kitso e teng mo ga Botswana Congress Party. We then had another presentation now on youth, women and children. Another different group of presenters. This week, we had a presentation on issues around education. I wasn't there. In fact, recently we also had social welfare, which was led by my colleague on my right. So I am satisfied that we are making the point that we have a strong team. We have a strong team as the Botswana Congress Party. I don't think I'm necessarily bragging, but stating a point when I say, even the mix of the sitting member of parliament that we have demonstrate the depth that we have in terms of the issues, the knowledge around issues that come before parliament. So, and when you look at the team of 55 men and women of substance, possibly I will be a president who will be spoiled for choice when it comes to selecting a cabinet, way much more than the current president when you compare the team he has and the team we already have. I am convinced we are in a good position. In the past, yes, we've gone the route of even announcing our shadow cabinet to say, should we be in government? This is the team that we did it, I think, in the 2014 general elections. It's an option on the table. We are still to look at it to say, will it add value to the campaign, or do we do other things? We can't always be coming back with the same old. So, work in progress. But I mean, even the candidates that have been launching, the strength of candidates. Even members of the BDP in Mau openly admit we will not go back to the days of members of parliament who just don't meet a certain bar. The BCP has set the bar high, and they are not looking back. And I think it will apply to many other parts of the country, given the quality of our candidates. That's why we've been brave enough to come out first. Who is on the told? We have the confidence of putting on display our parliamentary candidates in the cabinet election. I just wanted to close by saying, after the presidential launch, we will then announce activities that we'll be undertaking, particularly launch. I think in the last press conference, if I'm not mistaken, we've released the full list of launches that will be held during the current month. If you don't have that list, you can talk to our publicity secretary. But the expectation is that by the end of the month of April, we will then release a schedule that covers the whole of May for what will be happening, where will we be launching, on which day, and specific activities. The launch of our national manifesto and the launch of the youth manifesto that we promised. So those will be announced as you go along. Thank you very much for attending Ra-Leboga Lekamo. So we are always more than happy to share information about our party with you.
Thank you, press.